What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan Thomas, and you are tuning in to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I'm your host, bringing you another edition of the Thomas Take, and I just went live on Facebook for a little bit. I got basically blown up due to the ruling of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, a unanimous ruling that the glove size in the Mayweather-McGregor fight would go from 10 ounces to 8 ounces. And I gave my take on that and some Buffalo Bills stuff. Check that out on my Facebook page and the Thomas Take Sports Podcast Facebook page. I like to go live on Facebook every once in a while. It's a different audience, different crowd. And I'm a part of so many Buffalo Bills, MMA, UFC, and baseball, Facebook groups, along with hockey and pretty much every sport, that I like to share, what I post and kind of spread it out and get the word out there on it, and get some reactions from the people. So back on Spreaker.com, iTunes, and also YouTube, where this is the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. You can follow me, subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube, and obviously follow me on Spreaker.com, where this podcast is streamed from. And I want to talk about a topic that I think has dominated the headlines in sports more than virtually any topic that I have seen in recent memory the last few years, and that is the saga, the trials and tribulations of Colin Kaepernick. I want to let it be known that when I had first laid my eyes on the television screen and saw Kaepernick kneeling down before before, during, and after the national anthem, I was a little offended by it. I'm somebody that I really love this country. I really appreciate veterans that give their life for this country, that sacrifice time away from their families, from their children, to fight for our freedom. And it sounds cliche and it sounds corny, but I deal with people almost every day that were once in the military that aren't necessarily the same. And I think that it obviously really bothers me to know that those are some of the people that, really were willing to give their life for the sake of our flag, and the one ceremony, I guess you could call it, to really promote the flag and really, sing our anthem is obviously the national anthem, and it is something that has been a part of sports since the early 1900s. The national anthem in baseball, football, since the start of the Major League Baseball's heyday. The national anthem was really what was promoted heavily in the seventh inning, before the game and after the game. It was America's pastime. But now we are in this era where players feel as if they are proving their point by kneeling for the anthem. They don't see the significance of the anthem and what that represents, because what the anthem does is it represents its own message to each and every American. And whether you take that into consideration or not, that is your choice. That is your right to choose to take that into consideration or to choose not to take that into consideration. So that is a choice. That is your choice. And we are obligated to our choices in this country. And that's another amazing capability that we are blessed with in the United States of America. But my question is, will Colin Kaepernick ever play a down in the NFL again? And realistically, do I understand why he should play a down? Or do I understand, I understand both sides, why he should and why he shouldn't play in the NFL anymore. And there's a narrative to that I want to explain. So obviously, it's well known. He kneeled for the national anthem. He was basically surrounded by controversy after that, and it wasn't really smart in a business sense for him to kneel for the national anthem during his last year of his contract. He could have maybe done it a different way, and I would have definitely accepted. I accept his reasoning for it, that there are situations in this country that are very perplexing of police brutality and African-American citizens being treated unfairly and unequally in this country, which has gone on for far too long, and I do understand that 100%. And I think that is a real sickening problem that we are where we are. We are in the year that we are in 2017, and that is still a problem today. And obviously with the stuff that went on in Charlottesville, my prayers to the families that, has someone injured or just the whole situation is just too disturbing. It was too disturbing for me to even really look stuff up about it. When I first heard about it, it's like, man, I thought that this was over, as many people have, and it's clearly not. There's still groups and demagogues out there that want to cause trouble and bring violence to people of this country, and I don't agree with that whatsoever. But back to the subject matter. Had Colin Kaepernick maybe called a press conference, had he maybe done this in sort of a press fashion, rather than using the national anthem as a tool to promote his message, I think it would have been perceived much more positively as opposed to the route he went. And the route he went was a very interesting one. It was one where he was going to be able to get some eyes and some spotlight on his actual message. So in that sense, for him personally, it was a brilliant way of going about getting his message out there. But to the people, like myself and millions of other Americans, the American flag is something that is very sacred. It's very honorable, something that means a lot to a lot of different, to all, different people, based on race, sexuality, whatever it may be. The flag has its own voice inside the minds and inside the souls of Americans. And I've always thought that. Everyone has a different meaning of the flag when they look at the flag. This country has been through a lot in the last 20 years, fighting a battle in the Middle East that has just been a perpetual pendulum back and forth with no end in sight. And we were attacked on 9/11, 2001. And I don't think that day will ever be forgotten. I know I won't ever forget it. I was only 9 years old. And it's a day I still remember to this day. It was one of the sunniest days, beautiful clear skies, just an American, sunny day, trees in full, bloom. I just remember doing our mile walk at our elementary school, and it was a beautiful day. Like, it was just something special about that day. And then for it to end, I think it was more beautiful in my eyes because I was a kid. I enjoyed being outside. I liked playing outside, football, baseball, whatever it was. And knowing that I got to walk a mile outside the school before school started, it was like, wow, this is really great. And then you go inside, and a couple hours later, one plane flies through one tower, another plane flies through another tower, and I can see people leaping to their death at 9 years old. I mean, it chokes me up just thinking about it for me, because I didn't understand what the people were doing, but now knowing the severity of it and now understanding life and how things like this can happen, unfortunately, it's very upsetting, and probably one of the first times that, I've talked about this in a long time, where I can witness on TV, why are these, in my mind as a little kid, why are these people leaping off buildings? Why are these things happening? And it's very sad to know that was a mother or a father or an uncle or a grandfather or a grandmother to someone that was lost forever due to the actions of these disgusting human beings. And I went on a tangent there, but the flag represents the comeback of 9/11 to me. That's what it represents, and that's why I kind of went on that tangent. So for Colin Kaepernick, a multi-million-dollar athlete, an athlete that had endorsements through McDonald's and Subway and Starbucks, and was in the Super Bowl, was at the pinnacle of the game at one point, for him to choose this point in his career, a contract year, as a time to kneel during the anthem, I don't agree with it. I agree with his point. I do agree with his message. I agree with the message itself, but the principle of it does not make sense to me. And the fact that he is not a NFL quarterback right now has nothing to do with his talent. He's a talented quarterback. He should probably be a starter in the NFL, but he is not. And the reason he is not is because no owner will take that on. No owner will decide, hey, I want to bring this guy in even as a backup. Even when Joe Flacco's hurt, they'd rather have Ryan Mallett. Even when Ryan Tannehill is hurt, they will bring in Jay Cutler. The Cutler over cap situation makes 100% sense in terms of football, though. And people took that to the extreme, saying that Colin Kaepernick should be a Miami Dolphin. That would have made no football sense whatsoever for that particular situation, for this particular team, led by Adam Gase, who was the former offensive coordinator of the Bears while Jay Cutler was there. It just would not have made any sense. That's why they went after Jay Cutler. The Ravens didn't want the publicity stunt. Teams do not want this hanging over their head. The fact that there's a player on their team that basically defamed a symbol within the symbol of the National Football League, the National Football League. Might I add that in there? The National Football League, basically the United States Football League. It's not the USFL, but it's the National Football League with the 50 stars inside the shield at one point. Now I think there's like 8. They changed the logo so many times. But anyway, it's a big deal. And the fact that he is not a NFL quarterback right now should not be a shock to anyone. When these owners are multi-billionaires, they're not going to take a risk on signing a quarterback that has basically had actions like this, defaming the flag, because they know it'll bring down the stock of their team, the net worth of their team. Would I sign him? Would me, Ryan Thomas, sign him? Yes. I would look at this as a football decision. Does Colin Kaepernick make my team better? Yes. But you can look at the opposite end of the spectrum on that as well, or the other side of the coin, as I like to say. Does he make your football team better? X's and O's wise, on the field, yes. Off the field, locker room, teammate, I don't know. I know that there's a lot of conflicting players out there that agree with what he did, that think that his voice was heroic and the avenue in which he used his voice was heroic and admirable. And I do think anytime someone takes a stand, I do consider it admirable. But, I respect his stance and I understand his stance. But the principle of his stance is agreeable, but the avenue in which he used, to me, is not. And that is why he is not in the NFL right now, and that is why I believe he will never get a shot at being in the NFL again. If he would have done this in a public manner, spoke to the media, really had more quotable lines, rather than committing just an action of kneeling, if he would have maybe done a public press conference and said, this needs to stop, this needs to stop, this, and laid it all out there for everybody, so we had some awesome quotes that we could generate through, the interview, through the press conference, that would have been admirable. And actually, his stock probably would have went up, but the avenue in which he used made his stock drop down, and that is why we are where we are today. That is my take on the Colin Kaepernick situation. I do not believe he will ever play it down in the National Football League. Take care, everybody. God bless America. And really, people, we need to really respect each other and be there for each other at this point. We are all under the same umbrella, whether you are a Democrat or Republican. I see so much stuff on Facebook of people saying, not to me, but to just people that voted for Trump, this is what you get for voting for. That's just ridiculous. We are under one umbrella. We are all Americans. We should all want what's best for this country, and we are all in agreement that what took place over this past weekend was not, shall I say, easy to see. And it's wrong to be prejudiced against anyone for their race, religion, sexuality. 100%. I believe that this is America and we should accept people for who they are. So I'm Ryan Thomas of the Thomas Take. Got a little political there, but I wanted to give my take on the Kaepernick situation. It's a submitted question that I've been given a lot, or sent a lot, and hopefully I answered it for you guys. Take care.